I experienced premature ejaculation for more than 5 years, and during my journey to overcoming this, I actually learned a lot. It's probably the only thing that I'm grateful for after going through that bullshit. I started to get more interested in the physiology, the psychology, and basically how beautiful this sexual act actually is. I engage a lot in different kinds of conversations with different people, but as a man, the more interesting thing for me was always listening to the women's point of view. I genuinely like to listen to them, and because of that I ended up hearing a lot of stories. Unfortunately, a common factor that would usually came out was that they weren't actually happy with their sex lives. Most of them were actually frustrated, at least at some degree, and I really think that it's crucial for us to know what those reasons are, and I want to share them with you. My name is Jesus Noya, and I help men to last longer in bed, become sexually dominant, and be more attractive. All this while avoiding the deadly mistakes that I made through my sex life. This comes from my medical background of being a medicine student and 5 years of struggling with things like performance anxiety, premature ejaculation, and non-existent sexual confidence. Today I want to save you from the pain of, as a man, being disappointed for women in bed and a total wimp in your relationship. The things that I want to share with you today will help you to have a more exciting and passionate sex life, give her more powerful and better orgasms, and to deepen the love and connection through sex. And if you want to be able to last longer in bed and accelerate the process for you to become a sex god, go and click the link in the description right now. That way you can be in contact with me and we can work together to make that a reality for you as soon as possible. But now let's jump into the video. There's a bunch of reasons for women to be sexually frustrated, and yes, there's a couple of them that are on them, but for me, the main responsibility rely on us as men. Because if your woman is unsatisfied, always that means that at least at some degree, there's something that you're not doing right. But instead of taking that as personal, I think that that's actually great at the same time, because that means that we have a lot of room for improvement. If the responsibility were on them, then it was going to be difficult for us to do something about it, because we can't like just get in their head and like manipulate them, right? I mean, some men do that, but it's not necessarily the most effective thing. So it's way better to focus on what we've been doing wrong, and men have been fucking up in a bunch of areas. One of the main reasons for this is because we have the wrong information about how sex actually works, and if not the wrong information, then it's like no information at all. It's non-existent. For example, my first sexual experiences used to be just porn and masturbation, as a lot of men. It was also the word of mouth from other young guys that were actually having a couple of sexual experiences, but they were telling that more like in a funny way, like trying to mock you or something like that, you know? And the sexual education at school that, to be honest, is actually very lame, because they don't dive into the relationship part, well, for obvious reasons. It's more like the diseases, the how to use a condom, that kind of stuff. Or at least that's how it was when I used to be in the school. I think that now they're teaching like there's more than 100 sexual orientations. In any case, I don't care. Those are things for the first world countries. But the problem is that that was my input. Those were my teachers. And the things that I learned from the internet, the people out there, and all the material that I could find was absolutely wrong. When all the sources are terrible, if you can call them sources, your first experiences will be whack. And that's what happened to me and a lot of men. Then what we have to do is just try to get better by having sex over and over again, just following our intuition, or until we get with a more experienced woman that actually guide us to how to do it properly. However, most men don't actually make significant improvements to at least be good enough. It's just a small percentage. That means that there's a huge percentage of men that are actually garbage in sex right now. And that's the reality that we are living. They still have the same mental programming that comes mainly from porn and other really bad sources, and they just keep engaging in sex using that input, using that source of information. They were never exposed to this kind of content or information, and unfortunately that's what keep them in the same place. And if they don't even have an idea that they're actually having sex the wrong way, that there's a better way to do it where he and his woman can experience love and connection through sex in such a powerful way, it's never going to happen, because there's not like a map, like a path to achieve that. So that's the first reason, the wrong or non-existing information out there for men. The second reasons are the soft voice and the lack of masculinity. With one of the girls that I used to date in the past during my first sexual experiences, the chemistry that I used to have with her was powerful. Even with the sexual problems that I used to have, like premature ejaculation, I could see how she was excited for being with me. There was a lot of passion and we were making it anytime that we had the chance as the young things we were. However, with the time, I started to show a part of me that ended up changing the dynamic between us. And I was expecting that that change was going to be for the better. I started to be more sensitive and open, showing my raw feelings very often. I wanted to spend all my time with her and I was always asking her opinions so I could follow her instructions. I was was basically a soft boy in every sense of the word, because I thought that was the real goal, like that was the meta to achieve so we could have the best relationship ever. And when I started to get in this friend, I remember clearly how she literally started to get dry. She ended up losing all the attraction and the sexual tension was absolutely gone. After acting like this, she never stopped seeing me as a submissive bitch. And to be honest, it's fair because I was crying and begging her for attention all the time. But my initial thoughts back then with this experience was just blaming that girl, you know, because she didn't actually love me. She wasn't appreciating the fact that I was being good with her and sensible and always asking for her opinion. It was all on her. So that's what I thought until this exact same situation kept happening over and over again with the exact same pattern. I was being masculine, great sexual tension, girls coming to me to have sex with them, and then when I started to transition to the loving part that was actually just becoming a soft boy, they would dry up, stop having desire of having sex with me, and then the respect was totally lost. Because of that, the relationship just ended up dying. And what I see all the time is that most men are now in that soft boy side of the spectrum. These have been the reality that I've seen in the 3 countries that I've lived so far. Especially here in Peru is very abundant. That's where you always see women like taking the lead and the whole responsibility in their relationship. For real, I'm not even joking. I actually know a couple of relationships where the woman is the one paying absolutely everything and the man is basically the housewife. And when there's no masculinity polarization, like this excitement, that strong dynamic, sex will be absolutely garbage, and it's normal for women to be frustrated in that case. And women, even if they say that they want a soft guy, a sensible guy, a guy that is actually connected with his feminine part, with his emotions, super lovely and cute, they actually hate that, especially around sex. I met a girl, for example, that she said she didn't like dominant men at all. Like it was repulsive and toxic, machista, this kind of stuff, right? Like she would never date a guy like that. And okay, it makes sense. The problem was that she was going to fuck those guys with those dominating and toxic traits all the time with a lot of hype, and then would go back with her soft boy boyfriend. But with him, that sexual tension was non-existent. You could even feel like an aggressive energy coming from her to him. At any time that he was trying to be lovely physically, it was like she was repelling him. So you make your own conclusions. Dominance and masculinity are crucial for sexual tension, for the passion in a relationship. And if that is non-existent, sex is guaranteed to be trash. The third reason that I see women usually complaining is what we call vanilla sex. And one of my experiences changed my mindset around this forever. In the times where I couldn't last more than 1 minute, I started to focus way more on orals and foreplay and fingering, being lovely and romantic, making it slow, these kind of things that usually people recommend on the internet. I even read a whole book on orals and foreplay. It ended up paying off. I mean, I was actually doing good. Apparently, because I was able to give them orgasms, right? But then when I started to do the orals, for example, then they would say something like, no, please just don't do that, just put it inside, that's all I want. So I would do it and I still busted very quick, and I wanted to actually compensate that like going down and giving her an orgasm, but they would deny it. This was weird for me because I thought that's what they wanted, not the orals in specific, but the whole experience of connecting and being lovely and cute. From there, anytime that we were close to make it, she didn't want anything that wasn't penetration. She didn't like the foreplay or the kissing, and when trying to have sex slow, it was like it was boring for her all the time. Eventually we just stopped making it, until one day she came and told me, Jesus, I'm just tired of having sex like we are in the church, it's just not working. And that's when it clicked in my mind, like, alright, I think she's probably right. I mean, probably this concept and this whole thing of having vanilla kind of a slow sex is actually lame as fuck, because it hasn't been working all this time. And I ended up realizing that it wasn't only her case. What she was craving and what all women desire is actually that powerful, wild and passionate sex experience. And this is not depending on the woman as some men usually think, that some women are a little bit more of a hoe or more wild, and those are the ones that like it hard, and then other ones that are like shy and cute and you're supposed to treat those ones gently. That's a complete mistake. Even the religious woman that is that scared that goes to church every Sunday, she would have one of the biggest enjoyment during sex with this wild energy. And this is for every woman with no exception. That thing of vanilla sex is just a total fallacy, but a lot of men just keep performing like this. They think that that's the right thing to do, that's how his woman's going to like it more, and it's not. What you should always aim is that kind of wild sex when you can like barely breathe and she's getting contraction. That's the thing, the kind of energy that she's always going to enjoy the most. Another big reason for women to be sexually frustrated, and this was my biggest one, that men just usually don't last enough. Sex is mainly about quality, not necessarily how long it lasts. But it's actually very difficult to have enough quality in just 3 minutes. I mean, it's just not enjoyable. In an ideal world, you guys would have high quality sex for as long as possible. Unfortunately, the reality is actually very different. And this is one of the main reasons for terrible sex, for frustration and negative feelings, for men and for women. I know that because I live it firsthand. Think about this for 1 second. Have you ever experienced what is called blue balls? You know, where you were like kissing and making out with a girl and then she just doesn't want to have sex at all. Then you have to stay with like a rock hard erection, not able to do anything. But the worst part is that you have like literal pain in your balls. You know that isn't enjoyable at all, right? That is actually very frustrating. Now picture this. Most women have to experience this in a constant basis because most men out there are not able to even give an orgasm. They both engage in the sexual activity, but as the man haven't been able to last enough to satisfy her, she has to stay like this. And I would say that it's even worse for women because men, for example, can just go and masturbate and have a nut and that's it. With women, it isn't the same. They just store that frustration and it just keeps like building up inside their body. And it's very unfortunate that basically no men have control over their timing, because all of these factors would make a huge difference in how men and women experience sex. And contrary to what a lot of men think, this is something that you can learn and master. You can go to my other videos to see how that's possible, but believe me, life just will never be the same. And the last reason that I've seen for women to be sexually frustrated is lack of connection. This one's going to be a little bit more spiritual, but it plays a huge role as well. Let's say, for example, that everything during sex is actually great, right? You're masculine, sexual skilled, handsome, the whole package. If you lack connection with your partner, all those things are gonna be sent directly to the trash can. I had a friend dating a guy that she liked a lot, and she was kinda graphic with me, telling me how sex was great and all that, right? However, after some time, the narrative went from pleasure to just complete disgust. And for me, this was absurd. I mean, how did she just change her opinion when she used to even swear that she would always go back with this guy to have sex no matter what because of how good he was? But I started to realize something that she was repeating with her other sexual partners. Even if sex was great, she was feeling always like unfulfilling and happy because she didn't love those guys. And as she described it, because of that, it was like she was always leaving an emotional corpse. So even if sex was great at the beginning, it ended up being absolute garbage with the exact same person in the exact same situation just because there wasn't love, there wasn't connection at all. And I had an ex-friend that was the opposite case. Again, sex was great and she had like genuine feeling for the guys, but the guys didn't love her back. And because of that, the experience and the memories with those guys, it ended up being like full of shame and regret. This case may be even worse than the first one. Sex is a pure and divine act. And no matter how you see it, or what kind of reason you try to put to it, it has a spiritual part involved. It's like you're receiving and giving parts of a soul at the same time. And when you take the connection and the spiritual part totally out, it's going to be awful in some way. As I always say, it feels like masturbating with someone else's body. And with the rise of casual sex, the marginalization of marriage, and all this constant narrative of detaching love from sex, it's not strange seeing what's happening right now. Having sex randomly with people that you don't even feel something for, it ends up being awful. It feels wrong at some point. And as men, instead of being part of the problem, we should aim to solve it. My golden rule, and you can apply the same, is that you should only engage with girls, only have sex with girls that you really like. Girls where you feel like a real bond and connection. And you're gonna see it yourself, the deeper the connection, the deeper the love, the better sex is going to be. It's not going to be like those little hookups where everything is empty and you guys can see like even each other faces. These are the kind of experiences, the kind of sex that will make you feel like just grateful to be alive. For all these things, for all these reasons, the best part is that we can take the lead over them. We can do something to improve. I don't know about you, but for me it's like beautiful and exciting just thinking about it. Knowing that instead of leaving things to randomness in the way that I experienced love with a woman, if I do the right things, if I make an effort to improve, I cannot just be better, but I can enjoy the closest thing to the life of my dreams. An exciting, a passionate sex life with a woman that I love. And it's totally up to me to achieve that. It's exciting for me knowing that that's my responsibility because I would do something about it. And I hope you feel the same. I know that by sharing these traps that usually fuck up a lot of men, the journey to achieve your goals around love will be easier. I wish you good luck on that. And again, if you want to accelerate the process to become a sex god, overcome things like premature ejaculation, and become the master of your sex life, go and click the link in the description right now so we can work together to make that a reality as soon as possible for you. But besides that, man, I really hope all this helps helps you, and I'll see you later. Bye.